Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode here in NHL 22. So in last episode we had our first ever draft, and we also had the re-sign stage, and now we're up here in free agency looking to acquire a couple new pieces that could eventually be flipped away so we could start building this team up around our prospects. But yeah, anyways, last episode's draft was actually pretty good of one for our team. We drafted a lot of top 6 forwards and a elite guy in Connor Geeky, so very excited to see how these guys pan out, especially like Varlamov, who was a second round pick, but he's got some pretty solid attributes. Like, he looks like he could pan out pretty decently. He's a 69 at 18 years of age. And we also got a couple other top 6s like Howe, Sadikov, Shelley, who was a top 10 pick and has some really good shooting categories, so it should be interesting to see how much this guy could score next to a good playmaker in the future. We also got some low top 6s, and we also got a couple of defensemen, but they're not as good, so we definitely need to look at our defensive core and defensive prospects for next year's draft, I think, a little bit, because that's definitely where we're weak in right now, because we did just add a lot of forward prospects, and also we could probably use some more goalie prospects in the future too. So before we get into free agency, we have a lot of comments to go over, and once again, thank you guys for these, and keep them coming for this next episode. So the first couple comments is from Canadian Eagles. He says, "Sneaky Geeky, if I were you, I would sign Geeky and Varlamov and stick them both in the AHL." Now, Geeky, if we signed him, he wouldn't be able to play in the AHL because he was in the WHL, but Varlamov, we could sign him, but right now we don't have a lot of contract space, so I am not going to sign any of our rookies at the moment, just because we would like to fill them up with some free agents right now anyways. But more than likely, if Varlamov gets some good growth and is like a 70 something by next season, like sometime next season, we will sign him then, and then he could play in the AHL. And yeah, hopefully a lot of these guys get some good development over the first full year while they're actually like a drafted player and whatnot. So also, Canadian Eagles does say, "I'd trade for Lenefeld and Ian Scott if you can. I've seen Lenefeld grows, so I'd prioritize him. Would also sign Gaudette, Blackwell, and Koskinen, as well as Nybeck." So yeah, those are a lot of names. Lenefeld was on the block, and there's actually a trade we could probably make for Lenefeld, but I'll get to that when we get to a couple other comments. As for Gaudette, Blackwell, and Koskinen, I do think we will sign Adam Gaudette because he's pretty cheap, but Blackwell and Koskinen not as much, because Koskinen's not that great, and I don't think we need to really sign a goaltender because we could run Kornar as their backup in the NHL this season. Next comment is from Jeff Brielinski. He says, "Bring back Phil the Thrill," who I guess went back to free agency after we traded him to Anaheim, but I don't think I want to really bring back Phil Kessel, to be honest. Let's actually just sort this by age, since he would be one of the older free agents, because I wonder how he did in Anaheim, for an example. Yeah, he did go back to free agency. He actually wants like $4 million, which is a little bit expensive. But when he went over to Anaheim, he put up 16 points in 28 games, so he was actually pretty solid with them. But obviously, they didn't end up winning the Stanley Cup. They did make the playoffs, though, which is kind of interesting. Next comment is from Curtis Lee. He says, "You should pick up a left-handed defensive defenseman on a one-year deal to get trade bait for. Play Genther in the top 9 and get him growing young and developing early." So we might play Dylan Genther this upcoming season. We might not. I don't know, really, because it depends on how our roster is situated, but we'll figure that out when we get to the start of the season. He does also say that examples of those left-handed defensive defensemen are like McNabb, Sherrod, and Zadorov, which I don't really like the three of those guys because they're more like kind of like veteran-heavy defensemen that don't have a lot of value and won't grow much more. There is a couple young defensemen, though, in free agency that I'll get to when I go to look at them. The next comment is from Felipe557. He says, "Run Montembeault and Kornar as an NHL tandem so Prosvetov and Vejmelka can develop in the AHL as a tandem." And then I believe he had another comment. Yeah, he does. He says, "Maybe bring in some 80 overall players that fit on the first or second line, and maybe they pop off and their value goes up more. Julien Gauthier is a good option since he's only 24, and add some of the prospects that didn't re-sign with the respective teams and play them in the AHL." So yeah, more than likely we will pick up Julien Gauthier as one of our forward options, because we do need to sign some right wingers, and I believe he is a right winger. So that is that. The next comment is from Half Silly. He says, "Shelley might be the next Marty Necas, as a guy with high defensive prowess, but also a sniper playing forward, who will also slip under the radar. As for free agents, Sanford, Appleton, Barabana, Butcher, Mata, and a four-way goalie tie between Lincoln and Campbell, Rittich, and Georgiev. would start one of those guys, trade Hutton and Tendek, and use Vejmelka, Kornar, and Prosvetov. Sorry if I'm saying all this at a bad time, I just got home. So, yeah, we might sign some of those guys. I might sign Barabanov, but I don't think we're going to be signing a goalie in free agency because if we do, we might end up simulating too good because if you get a good goalie, the team all of a sudden might just start winning too much games, and we don't want that. Next comment is from HucksFan88. He says, other than Nybeck, wouldn't bother signing anyone too big. Just make sure the team is above the cap floor. So that's what we got to make sure of because we do have $30 million in cap space. The next comment is from Scrubby Chief. He says, don't sign any of your drafted players for this first year. Trade it for an Lenefeld and sign Gauthier and Gaudette. Then just fill in your depth with players that fit your coach. And then our final few comments are from Senator Sal. He says the best free agent you have to sign is Jumbo Joe, then trade him at the deadline to a playoff team. So we might actually sign Joe Thornton so we could just trade him to like a playoff team at the deadline, because why not give him a shot to go win a Stanley Cup, and he might end up actually fitting our coach's system, which is good. And also Senator Sal does say, I definitely try to trade to get Yamamoto or Marodi since they're both really good young players. I don't really think we're going to be making any trades in this offseason because I was looking. I don't really want to bring in Yamamoto because it's kind of unrealistic to an extent. While Marodi is a solid player as well, and he wouldn't fetch a lot, like it wouldn't take a lot to get him. But I don't really think we really need him, to be honest. So those are the comments to go over anyways from last episode. So thank you guys again for those comments. Now let's get into our free agent signing since we have a lot of work to do to get ourselves up to shape for next season. So let's see. Joe Thornton, he wants 2 years at 1.1775. That's a pretty solid contract, so we will give him a 1-year deal though. And we'll give him a little bit more just because we want to be near the cap floor, right? So we're going to give him 1 year at like 2.25. And like I said, we will eventually probably trade him away at the deadline just to a contending team. He's going to be our oldest signing in this free agency. Then we're also going to sign Adam Gaudette because a lot of you guys wanted me to sign Adam Gaudette. So we are going to sign Adam Gaudette. We could give him 2 years as well and give him exactly what he wants or a little bit more, which we probably will. Let's give him $2 million for 2 years. And then we also will sign Julian Gauthier because a couple of you guys said Gaudette and Gauthier especially. So those are two of the guys that are definitely getting signed. And both of them will be RFAs at the end of the year, which is also pretty nice. So we'll give Gauthier a little bit more as well. If we need more cap space, we need to sign somebody to a big contract. And then we'll also sign Barabanov, as mentioned by somebody. I can't remember who mentioned it in the comments, but we will sign Barabanov, and we won't give him a two-way deal because or else our cap situation could get a little weird. So we'll give him a 1-year deal at 1.4. And then we also will sign Zion Nybeck, I think. Wait, so we have... Yeah, we don't have a lot of more contract spaces, so we will sign Zion Nybeck. I think because he was a free agent, he was let go of by the Carolina Hurricanes, I think it was. Yeah, by the Carolina Hurricanes. He's got top 6 potential. We'll sign him up for the AHL. And then we are going to sign one defenseman, and that defenseman is going to be Caleb Jones, which none of you guys saw in free agency, but I was looking at potential good defensemen, and there is a couple good ones like Zaboral, who's 25, Shillington, who's 25, Liber Hacek, who's 24. Like, there's some really solid defensemen for younger guys. But yeah, we're going to bring in, once I sort this by overalls, we are going to bring in Caleb Jones because he's relatively cheap. Like, he's wanting 2.25. He's an 80 overall, 25. He's a two-way defender, so he will help us out defensively, and he does fit our second pairing probably and all our special teams as well, which is good. So we will sign him up for exactly what he wants, and he could be trade bait within the next few years. Who knows? We'll give him actually a little bit more than that because we're just trying to keep ourselves in a good cap situation. So I think those are all the signings we're going to make, because if we go to approached... We've approached now a total of 6 players, and we only have one more contract space pretty much at the moment. And that one contract space is probably going to be Lenefeld, who's in Tampa Bay. So we'll try and trade for him once we get these guys signed first, just to make sure we actually do have enough contract spaces still. So let's just advance a few days, see if we can get all these 6 guys that we approached. So Nybeck is accepted, so he's going to be down there in Tucson, which is nice to see. We also get Gaudette, Caleb Jones, Joe Thornton, Julian Gauthier, Alexander Barabanov, and I think that's almost it, right? We do have, I think we're waiting on one more guy, if I'm not mistaken. Or are we? Let me just make sure. Just because then we'll go and trade for a Linnefelt, which is not going to cost us a whole lot. Let's go to, oh, actually, no, we did get them all. Okay, we got everybody that we approached. That's good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is trade for a Linnefelt, which trading for a Linnefelt isn't actually going to cost us a whole lot. We do have a decent amount of goalies in our system already, though, if we look at our roster, because currently Montebo and Corner are going to be the NHL, and then we got all these 4 goalies, or 3 goalies in the AHL, and 1 guy that's unsigned currently. So, basically, I guess we're going to have to scratch, yeah, we're going to probably have to scratch Vejmelka, which kind of sucks, but whatever. Tendek we could actually put as part of this trade if we want to, because he's not going to end up making it. So let's go to make a trade with the Tampa Bay Lightning and bring in a Linnefelt as a prospect goaltender. And then I think that's all the trades we're going to make in this offseason, and then we'll sim up to next season and see what we could do with our rosters. So we are going to not give them Montembeault. We will throw in Vejmelka just as part of this deal to try and get this. Actually, not Vejmelka. It was Tendek that I wanted to get rid of, not Vejmelka. You know, Vejmelka doesn't have great potential. And we will throw in, I think they wanted a 7th round pick, so we'll just throw in a random 7th for next year, or 2024. This should get it done easily. And that's rejected apparently. That's kind of surprising. What if I throw in a 6 from 2024? I don't want to throw in anything too huge to get this deal done. It's still rejected. That's weird, because when I went to the trade finder, it said like a 6 and a 7 for a Linnefelt. So let's just go to the trade finder. Where's the damn trade finder again? Oh yeah, there it is. We'll probably end up making like a jump cut to the start of next season and stuff like that, just because or else this episode could end up being too long. So we are going to go to the Tampa Bay Lightning and try and get in a Linnefelt. Let's see, what do they want? Okay, so they only have one trade that they actually want to do, which is Jaskin and a 6th round pick, which I think I'm actually willing to do. Because Jaskin, like, I mean, he's not that bad of a player, but he's not somebody that I really have plans for in the future. And a 6th round pick is really nothing anyways. So we're just going to accept this deal, bring in a Linnefelt. And now we are set in stone with our roster. Let me just see what we got to make sure our roster is good to go. So we got a total of 7 players that could play center, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We could use maybe another depth 4, but I don't really think it's mandatory. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Lyubushkin's probably going to be our 7th defenseman this year. Yeah, I think we're good to go. So I am going to simulate up to a next season start with our edited lines and all that stuff. So I will see you guys in a second. Okay guys, we are good to go for the upcoming season, and our roster looks pretty interesting. It does look a little weak, but it doesn't look terrible. First line, we do have Alexander Barabanov playing with Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller, so Barabanov should have a good opportunity to get a decent amount of points with this line, I would assume, but who knows. Second line, we got Galchenyuk, Thornton, and Fisher, which is pretty solid. Third line, Gaudette, Hayton, and Krause. And fourth line of Larson, Boyd, and Gauthier. So, as you can see, our center core is pretty solid, but our wingers are pretty weak in a sense, especially on the right side. But at least we do have a lot of prospects that are right wingers or left wingers that could play on these type of spots in the future. As for our defensive core, we got Chychrun and Strawman, Soderstrom and Jones, which I actually really like this pairing a lot. And then the top 6 pairing is Baudin, who has cracked the lineup, who we traded for last year, and Henry Jokiharju, who is our waiver claim in year 1. So, pretty solid defensive core as well, actually. And in goaltending-wise, we got Montembeault and Josef Kornar as the backup. Depth-wise, we got Lyubushkin and Ladd. And then in terms of the AHL, we do have Farinacci playing with Zion Nybeck. Hopefully the two of those get some good development. Hagel's also down there, which we could use as depth if we want to call him up at some point. And then defensively, Connor Timmins has been thrown back down there for now. He should crack our NHL lineup, though, sometime soon as well. So he could eventually be maybe trade bait. I don't know. He does have top 4 potential, and he's 23 though. And yeah, Capobianco is also down there and whatnot, so that is that. And then goalie-wise, Prosvetov is up to a 77 overall, which is kind of crazy. So he's the starting goaltender down there in the minors. And the backup is Hugo Lenefeld, who we just traded for, who is a 71. So yeah, that is that, and we are ready to pretty much start up the season simulation. We're going to probably simulate maybe a couple months in this episode just to kind of get our feet wet and see how our team is. But we're not going to obviously simulate too much, because if we simulate too much, that wouldn't be good for the team's development. So let's take a look at the draft class before we start up the season, just because I want to kind of see what we got. Actually, I should be signing some new scouts. We got to do that before we start up the sim. Yeah, Connor Bedard and Matvei Michkov are the top 2 players in the draft. Obviously, they're both franchise players, so this is going to be a very deep draft. Don't know how good these AI-generated guys are, but should be interesting to find out. So let's go to Assign Scout and make sure we have like some scouts in each region. So we have one for Russia, Liga, SHL, Ice, which we don't really need one for the Ice League because I feel like there's no prospects that ever go there. We got USA East and Central. We don't have USA West. Are any of these guys good at USA West? This guy's good at USA East. How about you? USA East. There's a solid one for USA West. So we will reassign DeBoer to the USA West just to get USA West scouted, because last year we didn't scout USA West, so there's not a lot of prospects in USA West, but still we'll move that guy over. What else do we got here? So the entire Junior Hockey League to CHL is all scouted out, which is good. We do need still... We got SHL Liga. We don't have one for the DEL, looks like. And I feel like none of these guys would be good at DEL, right? Because more than likely the NHL and AHL scouts are good normally in North America. Wait, what was that A on there? QMJHL. Yeah, literally they're not good at all in terms of Nordic and stuff like that. And in Europe they're not that great either. I could just fire these scouts, so I will do that. Just get rid of those guys because we don't need them. So, okay, so we just need a DEL one, I think, and I think that's pretty much it. Let's hire a scout. And we'll go to the DEL, get this all set up. That way we have a good draft this year, because this is another crucial draft for our team, especially if we can get somebody like Connor Bedard in. Because imagine Connor Bedard with like one of those like top 6 prospects we just drafted. So, is any of these guys good at the DEL? A-, A+ for Yana Kaspa. So we'll sign Yana Kaspa for the DEL. And I think we do need one for the Czech League as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we need one, I think, for Extra Liga, which Dominic Malachar is good for, so we'll sign him up for there. That gives us one for the Extra Liga. So we'd get one for DEL and Extra Liga, which would make... Yeah, that's good. I think that's all the scouts we need. And then, yeah, DeBoer is just traveling to USA West, so we're good on our scouts, and that is good to go. And I think we're good to start up the season sims. So let's simulate up to... let's simulate like the preseason and then like maybe 1 month just to kind of get our feet wet, like I said, just to see how this team is. Not that we really need to simulate that good anyways. So we do get that Casper guy, and we do get Malachar. So let me just make sure they're assigned to the right portion of the league. We were getting offered a lot of trades in the offseason while I was simulating, but I didn't accept any of them. But a lot of teams seem to be interested in Travis Boyd and Ilya Labushkin, so those might be 2 guys that we move up from this year. So just a little heads up on that front. Let's make sure our scouts are sent out to the right area, which they both are. That is good. Casper's apparently... Oh, wait, no, Casper was supposed to go to the DEL, and Malachar was supposed to go to the Extra Liga. They went to the wrong leagues. Let's change region again. It's kind of annoying that they went to the wrong regions, like they went to each other's region instead. So Malachar needs to go to the Extra Liga. Sorry if you hear noise in the background. Again, there is people working on the parking lot currently. Is Extra Liga not part of... Jeez, it's hard to get to... Oh, there it is. Okay. Boom. And we just need to move Casper to the DEL, and then we are set in stone with our scouts as well. So yeah, that's the right spot. Boom. And that is good to go. Okay, so yeah, let's get the preseason done, and we'll simulate 1 month. So not really a whole lot of simulating in this episode, but just enough to see how this team is for the season. But yeah, hopefully we could tank and get either Bedard or Michkov this year, because those two would help us out in terms of a rebuild a lot. So 4-3 in the preseason. Okay, interesting. We don't have a whole lot of games in this first month. We only have like 10 games. Wait, yeah, 10 games or 9 games, somewhere around there. So actually less than that. We only have 8 games. So let's see how we do in our first 8 games of the season. We do win our first game in the year, which is not good, and Galchenyuk already gets injured. We're somehow 2-0 on the season. We do lose in overtime in our third game, so we're playing a little bit too good right now, which I have no idea why the case is. I don't want to be this good of a team, because or else we're going to have to start trading away people pretty early on to this year. We lose to Calgary in regulation, and lose to St. Louis, and lose to Calgary again. There you go. Now we're on a losing streak, but we do win to end the month. We are 3-4-1 to start off, which might be a little bit too good, but hopefully this team can come back down to earth a little bit. But yeah, that's this first 8 games of the season. Let me just take a look at what lines have been doing what. You know, it's pretty early on. Caleb Jones is almost point per game. I don't know about that one. That's interesting. Maybe he was too good of a pickup. But at least that'll make his value go up probably higher up, and then we could trade him away for something good, because we did sign him to a 3-year deal. And his salary is higher up because of the fact that I believe we'll be below the cap floor or something like that. That's why it's a little bit higher. Barabanov is also doing pretty good on the top line. And Gaudette's doing good. So a lot of our free agent signings are actually contributing, which is good, considering we could trade them away. Thornton's not doing too good so far, but like I said, we will be trading him away for sure in the next episode probably, or the next episode afterwards. Montembeault is doing way too good. I don't know what it is, but he is phenomenal so far with his save percentage and stuff. That's not good. Maybe Montembeault is too much of a cheat code and we have to get rid of him at some point. So anyways, that is that. Let's take a look at that draft class again just to see what's out there, because we didn't really take a whole lot of in-depth look at it. And then I'll also show you guys the trading block, and then that'll be it for this episode. So we got our 2 franchise guys in Michkov and Bedard. Both of them seem to be like bouncing around between who's first and second, which is kind of weird. Matthias Zetterberg is a guaranteed medium elite sniper, which is interesting, and he might have some X factors, or he definitely does have some superstar abilities. So even if we get a top 3 pick, we might end up getting somebody really good. Yeah, Matthias Zetterberg. There's also Agostino. Jaeger's a real player, so I don't really care about him. Manny Pietrangelo, who is a medium elite 2-way defenseman. So we already got some good scouting stuff already done. This guy's probably got some X factors as well to build up our defensive prospect pool. Yeah, this looks like it's going to be a good draft, so we might have to stock up on some picks if we can. Because I don't really know what we have for picks this year, but it looks like it's going to be a good year. Lou Wolf, that's a cool name. Let me just take a look at our, what is it, what was I going to take a look at now? There was something I was going to take a look at, but I can't remember now. Let's just take a look at the trading block, and then that'll be it for this episode. Not that we're going to be making trades early in the season, but if you guys think what's necessary, we could pick up some good prospects, because Anaheim has like Gruel and Perreault on the block. Mason McTavish is also on the block. But these guys are going to be expensive to probably fetch, so. But I will still go through this just in case you guys want me to make any trades in the next episode. But yeah, hopefully our team falls apart for the rest of the season and doesn't stay around 500 like they're currently doing. You know, it is really early on. But yeah, there is a lot of good prospects on the block. I don't think any of our guys are going to be able to fetch anybody super good, but you never know. Because, well, I mean, maybe Caleb Jones could fetch somebody decently. But I don't know. A lot of veterans on the block as well. But yeah, hopefully we have a really bad season. Hopefully we get either Bedard or Michkov. If we get stuck with somebody else, then that would be okay too. But it'd be nice to have like multiple picks in the first round this year if we could do that. Because if we have multiple picks, we have better chances of getting those guys, right? So, Matt Martin on the block. Yeah, there is a lot of good top 6 forward prospects and top 4 defensive prospects. So we could make trades already, but we might just wait till the deadline. There's even like guys like Alexander Holtz on the block, but we don't really have the assets to move, because I don't want to really move like any of our prospects that we just drafted. So I don't feel like it, at least. But there is options out there. And then there's also old guys, but we're not trading for no old guys unless we want to be a crap team. But Tampa Bay has still Kajovic on the block. Abramov. Ian Scott is still on the block, and he's actually almost listed as like a backup goalie. Ian Scott's a pretty good player, but we don't really need any goalies at the moment, since we do have a Linnefelt now. And yeah, that's pretty much that. There's a couple more in Winnipeg. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll simulate more of the season. I'd say maybe up to like, I don't know, right before the deadline. And then the deadline will be the episode afterwards. So we'll probably just do some simulating next episode and maybe make some trades if you guys think they're necessary. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.